Loving what is. The first time I've heard those words was when I met Byron Katie and we discussed her book by the same title. I've decided after reading that book that I was going to do the best I can to live a life that way. It's a philosophical life, and it's really based on the thoughts of Marcus Aurelius, who said, amor fati, love what fate happens to be. I'm Barry Kibrick, and today we are going to look at how a philosophical life may be the best way to live a life you choose. We think of ourselves in many ways. It may be emotional, it may be psychological, it may be spiritual, it may be scientific, it may be religious. There are many ways we think of ourselves, but from the very beginning, the first way we really thought of ourselves was philosophically. That goes all the way back from Aristotle to the philosopher king Marcus Aurelius. And why that is so important is philosophy has always been based on these few values: wisdom, courage, virtue, moderation, and most of all, living a life filled with good values. It also leads to a way of acceptance. That's what loving what is all about. To accept the fates, or as I said before, Marcus Aurelius said, amor fati. Accept what is occurring. However, many New Age philosophers and thinkers almost take that to an extent that I believe is a little too far. Because to love what is important. It's, as I said, it changed my life. When I realized that any obstacle that got in my way was really an opportunity for me to either go around it and seek a new direction, go over it, find a new path. Sometimes I had to duck under it just to get away. Sometimes I had to go through it, fight my way all the way through it. But I accepted that it was there. And that acceptance allowed me to open my mind to new alternatives and led me to close the doors that didn't help and open the windows that brought in fresh ideas and new ways of thinking. A classic example of this type of acceptance of the obstacle comes from Edison himself. When his factory burnt down, this was at the peak of it, not even the peak, almost at the height of his accomplishments. His major factory burnt down. The pictograph, the Victrola, the light bulb, everything that was in there was burnt to a crisp. When his son saw this blaze, he started to weep, knowing that the hard work his father put into it was now all vanished. But Edison thought differently about acceptance. He thought differently about obstacles. When he saw his son sobbing, he said, "Son, go home, get mom, get the family, get the friends, bring them all here." The son says, "Why, Dad?" And he said, "Because they'll never see a blaze this beautiful in all their lives." The son quite didn't get it. But when he came back later with the family and everyone else was in shock, and the reporters went to Edison and said, "Thomas, what are you going to do?" He said, "This is the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I'm going to now get a chance to build a brand new laboratory with new equipment and create even better things for mankind." I go back to Marcus Aurelius, who said this from his book of Meditations. Our actions may be impeded, but there can be no impeding our intentions or our dispositions, because we can accommodate and we can adapt. The impediment to action advances more action. And these are the words that most stick in my mind and in the minds of those who follow him closely. What stands in the way becomes the way. Now be careful with that thought, Many New Age philosophers, as I mentioned, sometimes means that you do nothing with it. But that's not the case. I believe that that philosophy means that you take what's ever in your way and you use it to your advantage. It may be requiring to go, as I said, around it, over it, through it, doesn't really matter. But the obstacle leads you to the new path that you must travel on. And even if the obstacle prevents you from attaining your goal, just the fact that you have to figure out ways to deal with it will make you a better person and create your values and virtues that may never have been uncovered if that obstacle wasn't there. Now, I really thank you for joining me on this conversation. I could not do this without my patrons. I want to thank them for helping make this possible. And if you enjoy these conversations I have with you, please visit my website at www.barrykibrick.com and become a patron yourself. It's for as little as $2 a month, but it really helps us make these videos possible. But even more important than that, if this video helped you in any way, I want you to share it. I want you to subscribe to our channel and also click on that little bell on the bottom so you'll know every week when we post another one. For the record, I believe that our obstacles reside in us more than they do outside of us. And it's more important to clear up those inner obstacles in our mind, our heart, and soul than any other obstacles we may face. But remember, if we don't, they will clog our brains and our lives forever. I'm Barry Kibrick. Whether your obstacles are within or without, remember this: discover them. Do not let them get in the way. Let them be the way to find out how you can live a life of virtue, value, and affect those around you and your inner peace as well.